So I have been thinking about this and wanting to make a video about just the idea that not every game can be or should be for everyone. I've talked about it in recent episodes of the Ramble Report as well, so I apologize for the redundancy out the gate. But I I couldn't find like really the right lane that I wanted to tackle this from until I was watching SkillUp's Ghost of Yote review. And it was really interesting to hear, like, I think the review was very fair, and I think he gave an honest opinion of the game, which is kind of what you should want from every critic. You shouldn't want every critic to completely agree and align with you 100%. That's boring as fuck. But I think he gave his honest opinion, and I think my takeaway from his takeaway was that he felt a shred of disappointment that Yote was by the numbers, iterative, safe, maybe. That it was just another cinematic, narrative-driven, open-world, third-person action-adventure game. And it was funny hearing that takeaway and him kind of maybe feeling a sense of burnout within that genre, within that structure of game. And I'm like, man, I don't feel like we get nearly enough games like this. It was just a totally polar opposite of kind of the view of that genre. And I don't feel like we get games like this at all. But then you look at something like Assassin's Creed Shadows that came out this year as well, and it's very similar from a structural standpoint of revenge story, open world, feudal Japan, third person, open world action adventure game, right? Like, there are obvious markers that are very similar between the two. And I start thinking about this, and I'm like, it's funny how you could show me Code Vein being revealed at a state of play and then show me Neo 3 right after, and I'm going to feel the exact same way about those two games, which is total apathy for both, because I do not give a fuck about the Souls-like genre at all. I don't care. They don't appeal to me whatsoever. And so I start thinking about that, and I'm like, well, that's probably how someone feels whenever they if they're not into the, narrative driven third person open world action adventure game, whatever, and they play through Shadows and they play through Yote, or they see some of Shadows and they play some of Yote, or whatever the case may be, and they're like, yeah, they're very similar. It's we get so many of these. Why do we need more of these games? Whereas I play through the two of them, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's not even comparable. They're in two totally fucking different leagues. Like, Yote is 1,000 times better than Assassin's Creed Shadows. And I, from my vantage point, from my standpoint, I feel like we get so few of games of that ilk, games of Yote's ilk, of that level of quality, of that level of, production value and care and attention that's put into the story. And I don't even see Assassin's Creed Shadows and Ghost of Yote in the same realm. But it's because I love that genre so much. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't look at Code Vein anywhere near in the same realm as Neo 3. But to me, it's like, whatever, fucking soul slop. You're going to roll around on the ground a whole bunch. But I don't give a fuck about that genre. And then so I say something disparaging about the genre, and there's going to be a viewer who's like, well, hey, I like that damn genre. Why are you shitting on it? In the same way I'm watching the Skill Up video being like, hey, I like that genre. Why are you shitting on it? And it's that was kind of one of the other takeaways as well, is that not only every game can't be for everyone, but every reviewer can't be for everyone either. And like, if you're coming to me and you're like, well, hey, I wonder what he's going to have to say about this Souls-like game that I really like. Unfortunately, I'm probably not going to have a bunch of positive things to say about it. It's not a genre I dig. You know what I mean? And I mean, typically it's not that I'm not going to have positive things to say about it. I'm not going to really have anything to say about it. It's just, I have no interest one way or the other. Like, I don't even hop into those games. And so, yeah, that was one of my takeaways as well, where it's like every reviewer can't be for you, but they shouldn't try to either. Just as game developers should create the thing that they want to make, like critics, reviewers should review the game based on the way they actually felt and not based on what they think the feedback to the way they actually felt is going to be. Like, you shouldn't be thinking about the pushback that you're going to get from your audience when reviewing something. You should just give your honest opinion. And like, I think the dude gives, I got to give Skill Up credit. I think he just does give his honest fucking opinion. And, sometimes that may be a slightly contrarian opinion or whatever, but I don't think that's intentional. I just think the dude's being honest. And you got to give kudos to that, even if you don't agree with the take. But it is funny, though. Just, I remember there was that, I believe it was an IGN or GameSpot article a while back where they were talking about how they're tired of the PlayStation formula. They're tired of PlayStation making the same games over and over again. And I see that criticism commonly shared around as well. And it's even that it's another one where, like, I kind of get where it's coming from for sure. There's definitely, I think, a tone problem that I would agree with by and large, that those games are a little bit too self-serious, and they, probably should have a little bit more fun with some of these stories. Not everything has to be so dour and grim. I agree with that. But, it's people talking about, like, these games are so damn similar. And meanwhile, I'm like, well, dude, this is the exact style of game I fell in love with. You know what I mean? You go even back to your Uncharted's and your Infamous. Like, I love that style of shit. And I feel like they've kind of kept advancing that formula into The Last of Us, into, Ghost and Horizon. And like, I love all of these games. And when PlayStation pivoted and just started going down this disastrous live service route, I was beyond bummed out. I'm like, oh my God, all the games that I love are about to be on the chopping block. And then, you hear something like, we get too many of these games. We get too many games like Ghost of Yotze. We're burnt out with this style. And I'm like, well, shit, man. What do we have, right? Like Spider-Man 2, Ragnarok, Forbidden West. Is there anything, like, I can't think of anything beyond that. Have we gotten any other games? And a lot of those aren't even like open world third person action adventure games, but I can understand of a similar third person cinematic vein, but just with that little amount of, like, we haven't gotten a lot of these titles this generation, because PlayStation has been so disastrous with their first party mismanagement that when something like Yote comes along, I'm like, oh my God, it's back. The actual quality, the good games that they used to make are back. And it felt like we used to get these so frequently. And I know some of that is just perception, but I could take a new one of these every single fucking year, 2 a year, 3 a year. I would be overjoyed for more shit like this and zero live service slop. But once again, your mileage is going to vary. You're going to talk to 10 different people, and they're going to have 10 different opinions on just that one subject right there as well. And it's, it's, you got to find the repetitive that you like. You hear all the time of people saying, oh, well, it's this style of game's repetitive, or that style of game's repetitive. Like, that's one of the main criticisms that someone will throw at a game, is that it's repetitive. And it's like, well, every game is repetitive. All of them. There are very, I guess Jade Empire, I would say, is one of the very few games I've played in my life that I don't really think is repetitive at all. It's just beyond weird, the amount of weird shit that they're throwing at you. Actually, shout out to Sly Cooper 2, Sucker Punch as well. I'll give them a shout out for Sly Cooper 2. That is a very not repetitive ass video game. But it's the funny thing, man, where I bet money that at that time you probably would have heard people saying that Sly Cooper 2 was repetitive. Because, like, it came out in an era that was full of your Jack and Daxters. It was full of your Ratchet and Clanks and Psychonauts and, fucking Spyros and Crash Bandicoots, and all of that shit was the rage at the time. And so I feel like there probably was a degree of fatigue even with this, but I'm playing it now, and there's very few games like Sly Cooper on the market right now, and I'm just having a fucking ball. And I'm going into a tank section at one point, and I'm in a dog fight at another point, and then I'm in a twin stick top down shooter at one point. It's like, holy shit, they're throwing so much at me. There's so many different little games within this game, and I'm just having a blast playing all of them. But you hear it all the time as well with Grand Theft Auto. And it's another one that I find that criticism so wild, where people are like, yeah, Grand Theft Auto, it's the same structure for every mission. You drive, and then you get out on foot, and you might get into a fist fight, or you might get into a shootout, or you might get into a tank, or you might get into a plane, or you might get into a submarine, or you might do a heist, or you might do... And it's like, well, wait. You just called this game repetitive, and then you said like 60 different things, 60 different possibilities for what could go on in the mission structure. It's like, I don't view that as repetitive at all. But it's not even about if it actually is repetitive or not. It's about what you vibe with. Not every game can be for you, and not every game should be for you. And you have to pick the repetition that you like. What do you like repeating in a game? Do you like hacking someone with a sword? Well, hey, you go and you pick up Final Fantasy 16 or Devil May Cry or whatever the case may be. You like these badass cutscenes and walking around, and you go and pick up Death Stranding. And is it repetitive? Sure. But it's a style of repetition that you find enjoyable. And even just that thought of, like, imagine if games strived to not be repetitive, and how off-putting that would unfortunately be for a lot of people, where if games were actually striving to be as, I guess, lacking repetition as possible, you would pack like 70 genres within this one game. And then who is that game appealing to? If out of your 14 hours with the game, you spend 2 hours doing 7 different things, it's like, that's not appealing to anybody. At the basis of Sly Cooper is a action platformer. If you like action platformers, you're going to spend 70% of your time doing action platforming shit. And so if you like action platformers, hey, Sly Cooper's a great game for you. And then in the mix, the 30%, you chop that up into a little bit of this, a little bit of that on top of it. But the main thing is the main thing. The main thing is that it's an action platformer. And so it's going to appeal to fans of the action platforming genre. But it's also okay if that's just simply not for you. And there's going to be many, many great games that come out every single year that are just not for you. And that's fine. They weren't made for you. There's fucking 7 billion other gamers in the world who it might be for potentially. And I don't, there's this thing, and I'm definitely guilty of it as well, where there's this sense of like, you want to weigh in on a little bit of everything, and you want to, I'm definitely very curious. I'm a very curious minded individual when it comes to, like, I want to play a little bit of everything, jump into a little bit of everything to see what clicks with me, what doesn't. But there comes a point where you kind of know, you know what I mean? You kind of know what's going to vibe with you, what's not. If you have played Grand Theft Auto 3, 4, 5, San Andreas, Vice City, and none of those clicked with you, it's a good chance Grand Theft Auto 6 won't either. And I'm not saying to, like, you know, if you want to jump in and check it out and try it and see if it does end up, if that's the one that does click with you, then fuck yeah. I think that's awesome. I think having an open mind like that is awesome, and I try my best to do that. But at a certain point, you know, I also feel like, and I think about that a lot with this channel, where it's like, what am I really adding to the conversation? Like, if I pick up Mortal Shell 2 and I jump into Mortal Shell 2 and I have not liked a single other Souls-like game that I have ever played in my life, I guess, is that the take? Is like, hey, a non-Souls-like guy played this game. Here's his take. And so does that appeal to an audience that is non-Souls-like fans to hear from another non-Souls-like fan? But, or is that more, you know, is that, like, is that counterproductive? You know, do you just, if the highest likelihood chances that I come in here and I just dog Mortal Shell 2 because it's in a genre that I don't like, it's like, I don't really know who that is appealing to. And not to say, like, I think that, you know, there's a whole lot of value in just an honest opinion, rather it be negative, positive. Like, I don't think you should hold back negativity to peddle positivity nonstop. Like, you should just, once again, give honest takes on things. But knowing that you're likely not going to be into something from the jump and then just continuing forward with it first, just to have a take for the sake of having a take. Like, I don't really know. I don't know who that is benefiting. But, you know, also while saying that, it's like, I do think of something like The Witcher 3, where I played The Witcher 3 multiple fucking times before I finally played it the time where it just clicked. And I just got into it and was totally engrossed, and I couldn't pull myself from it. And, I mean, I probably played it 3 times before that, and every single time, I guess I just wasn't in the mood. And that's a key factor as well, is your own personal mood is going to dictate like 90% of your enjoyment of a product, which is so unfortunate. You woke up and had an argument with the wife, you stubbed your toe, you didn't get a lot of sleep, and then you try to play this great game and you can't get into it later that night. And you know, you're like, well, damn, everybody on the internet saying this thing's so fucking great, and I'm not getting any enjoyment out of it whatsoever. And that's twofold there. One is you stubbed your toe and you're being a big ol' ass baby and blaming it on the game. And I've been there so many times where I had a shitty day, I play a great game, and I'm like, it ain't that fucking great. The internet's wrong. I'm right. I stubbed my toe, and I'm going to be a big old bitch about it, but the internet's wrong. But, you know, it's twofold, where as well as being a big old bitch, you also just might not like a game that the rest of the internet does. And that's okay. Back to the title of the video. Not everything is going to be for you. But maybe one day that certain thing will. Maybe one day, you know, I bet there's many millions of people who played The Last of Us, didn't like it when it came out. They watched the show. They're like, fuck, this is really good. And then they go back to it and get really into it. Because that's what happened to me with The Witcher. And I know that that's sacrilegious to say, but I played The Witcher 3. I just don't vibe with it at all. But then I watched the show with Henry Cavill, and I'm like, I really, really loved season 1 of The Witcher on Netflix. And I feel like that gave me enough context to jump back into The Witcher 3 and at least have that immediate connection going forward to care enough to get through the things I didn't like about the game and then come out the other side being like 100 hours deep and just addicted to it, you know? So it's, yeah, it's, this hobby in specific is so difficult to pinned down in a way of being like blanket statement, everyone should go out and play this thing, in a way where, yeah, everyone should probably go out and watch The Sopranos. Everyone should probably go out and watch, Game of Thrones, whatever. It's a non-interactive medium. You don't have to do anything. You just sit back and passively consume. This is, when you're putting your hands on that controller, there's just going to be ways of controlling the damn game for certain genres that you don't want to participate in, that you don't vibe with. And there's nothing that can be for everyone in this hobby. I think it's impossible, and that's what makes it fucking awesome. And that's why, back to the point, like, developers have to make what they want to make. And it's something that even, it's something that kind of, to a certain extent, bums me out a little bit, where I'm such a new IP guy. I want new shit. I love that Naughty Dog moved on from Crash into Jak and Daxter, into Uncharted, into The Last of Us, now on to Intergalactic. And I hope that Intergalactic's like one game and then they move on to something entirely different, leave The Last of Us behind. I'd be fine. My favorite franchise of all time is Resident Evil. I'd be fine if I never got another Resident Evil and that team just went off and created something brand new. I'd be fine if Rockstar never made another Red Dead, never made another Grand Theft Auto, and just tried something completely new. I love new IP. I love new shit. But at the same time, Ghost of Tsushima sold tens of millions of copies. Make another game similar to that. That's probably the smart business move. Make another game within that franchise. That's probably the smart business move. Another open world, third person action adventure, checkboxy style of game, which I don't even really, that's the thing that's so, crazy as well, of people calling it like a checkboxy open world game, where I played a lot of that game with not even looking at my map, just like letting the game guide me and letting the game, like, taking it in and just going wherever I felt the game naturally push me towards. And I found that so immersive. But yeah, I have to understand the business reality as well, where I for sure would rather Sucker Punch their next game have nothing to do with Ghost of. I'd rather their next game have nothing to do with Sly Cooper. I'd rather their next game have nothing to do with Infamous. Infamous 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. Ghost of Yotei is one of my favorite games of all time. It's hard to say that because we're in the year that it released and I haven't had enough time to really reflect on it, but I fucking love that thing. But I think I would probably like something new even more. And the potential of that is just more exciting to me. But it's also probably not a smart business move. And I understand that. So it's yeah, it's I feel like I could talk about this forever. I do find this specific topic fascinating of just how this industry, how this specific hobby, it is so impossibly difficult to cater to everyone. And I think it's just so impossibly difficult to the point where you have to kind of remove yourself from that mindset entirely and just make what your fans want, and if you break beyond that, fucking awesome. But if you have like a big hit thing, I understand why Nintendo makes, they make different games, but they're all games you have deep association and nostalgia for. But from one Zelda game to the next, they're very, very different. So they're mechanically drastically different from one to the next. But it's still a Zelda game. And there's a lot of wisdom in that strategy of just keeping a functioning business based on IP that people hold near and dear to their heart and kind of never letting that go. But for me personally, that's just not all that exciting. Anywho, I'm rambling at this point. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on all of this. Let me know if you think I'm off base. That's another thing. I'm always interested in hearing the other side of the argument. I'm always interested in hearing someone be like, yeah, I think you might be kind of off base on the idea that, if there are examples of games that you think do kind of break through and can appeal to absolutely everybody. Like, I can't think of anything off the top of my head other than maybe certain mobile games, but even then I don't know if that appeals to necessarily everyone. And yeah, I think pursuing that is kind of fool's gold. I think it's absolutely fool's gold. But that's just my opinion. I'm interested in hearing yours. So hit me in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about the video. And yeah, I just sort of throwing these out here. I have an idea, sit down, shoot the shit about it, release it to you all, and see what y'all think. So trying to keep them under 30 minutes or so. I'm pushing close to that 30-minute mark, so I'll get the hell out of your hair at this point. And yeah, hope y'all have a good week. Take it easy, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.